Well, good morning, Clock and a Gallop fans. Welcome to our preview of racing today on this Thursday. It's the 4th of August, and I'm flying solo today with your preview. I have spoken to Neil Andrews a bit earlier on today, so I do have his take on it, and I'll be running through the 8 races today on the Vaal Classic track. It's a coldish day at the moment here in Joburg, but it is looking to heat up a little bit later on, up to a maximum of 22 degrees centigrade. Just reading from my iPad here, the track condition is good. The penetrometer 21. The false rail is set 5 meters out on the back straight, going up to 6 meters out on the bend, and there'll be a 6-meter spur at around about the 600-meter marker. 3 millimeters of rain and 6 millimeters of irrigation in the last 7 days. The track condition, as we mentioned, is good. Just a few housekeeping issues. JP van der Merwe, we're wishing him all the best. He's medically indisposed. He had a fall yesterday afternoon at Greyville. So JP van der Merwe not riding today. Caden Brewer no longer claims an allowance. He rode his 60th winner. So Caden no longer claims an allowance. And well done to Caden, because he ran second to Rachel Veneker in the apprentice race for last season. And then Gabriel Petersen had 2 winners yesterday afternoon at Greyville. And because he's ridden his 40th winner, he no longer claims 2.5 kilograms. He now claims just 1.5 kilograms, as he rode a double yesterday afternoon. So he's well on his way, Gabriel, to a successful career in the saddle too. So well done to Gabriel. So do note those changes as we run through the 8 races here today. Well, let's move on to the take on the first race. Race number 1 is a Work Riders Maiden, and the betting is up on the screen now, and this is over 1,600 meters. Remember that being on the classic track, that horses or races over 1,000 meters, all races over 1,000 meters, will be run around the turn. So scratched in race 1 is number 3, Jane Wilson. That's a late scratching, was scratched earlier on this morning. You can take the, you could put a tongue tie on number 1, I'm in Love, which is a very important equipment change. I'm in Love number 1 will wear a tongue tie. That's important because of what I'm going to tell you about the filly in a moment. Number 10, Celtic Babe, no blinkers, was due to race in blinkers on debut. Well, they're betting 13-10, number 1, I'm in Love, and number 5, Skyfall at 18-10. And then there's been a bit of money for number 7, Sassy, from 14-1 into 8-1. I was concerned with I'm in Love's respiratory noise last time out, and I think that with the tongue tie fitted, you'll notice that it did wear a tongue tie in the 2 races prior to its last race, and those were both at Kenilworth, 1 over 6 furlongs and 1 over 7 furlongs. But I truly believe that this is the right horse in the race, because Skyfall is a year younger, and actually the weight for age scale in August, 4-year-olds should be giving 3-year-olds 8.5 kilograms, and I'm in Love only gives Skyfall 3. So effectively, Skyfall is well out of the weight. And whilst the form may look good, and the fact that it definitely will get the trip, and I'm in Love, there's a question mark over the trip, I still believe that Penisile Monkawa, who came back to form with his most recent ride for the Paul Peter Stable and the Work Riders, is the horse to beat here. So I'm going I'm in Love to beat Skyfall, and I believe those 2 have the race to themselves. Nothing out of the ordinary there. 1 at 13-10, the other at 18-10. But now that they've put the tongue tie on number 1, I'm in Love, at 10-8 this morning, that seals the deal for me. Let's move on to race number 2, which is the start of the place accumulator. It's a maiden plate over 1,600 meters. It changes in the second. Number 7, Atticus Finch, is now ridden by Calvin Habib, and number 3, Tara Iti, Alamites in front and races unshod behind. So I mentioned JP not riding today. I think that's very important, because I think that the 11-10 favorite is the horse to beat on exposed form. Atticus Finch, to me, ran to a rating of 89 in its debut run behind AF Yellow Yokel, 2.5 lengths behind. Now, an 89 merit rating for a 3-year-old in August translates into a net merit rating of 71. And if that's to be taken literally, Clap of Thunder number 1, who is the main danger, has a gross merit rating of 69, but after you take into account the weight for age for 4-year-olds over a mile in August, it comes into 68. So effectively, Atticus Finch should be giving Clap of Thunder 1.5 kilograms, and the opposite is the case. Clap of Thunder gives Atticus Finch 3 kilograms. The Warrior is the form of the stable of Alec Laird. We've mentioned this on a couple of previous shows, but he has to bounce back to form soon. The Warrior is about the form, so I make it again very much a 2-horse race here, and I think that Atticus Finch will have sway over Clap of Thunder. Even if you go back to look at Clap of Thunder's last run behind Total Protection, there is a form, collateral form here, because AF Yellow Yokel, who beat Atticus Finch, has run against Total Protection. So I do believe that Atticus Finch has the measure of Clap of Thunder on exposed form. And again, I think it's very much a 2-horse race there. On we move to the third race. This is off at 5-2. It's the start of the Pick 6, a graduation plate for 3-year-olds. It's over 1,450 meters. Here you can scratch now number 1, Total Protection, who's a non-runner. This horse was at 5-1. And has now been scratched earlier on this morning, Elevated Temperature. Note that Calvin Habib now rides number 7, Future Wolf, replacing JP van der Merwe. No blinkers as well for number 7, Future Wolf, in this race. Well, all the money has come for Feather Boa here, the filly. She's rated 99 on rating. She's set to win. She shortened in from 12 to 10. Her odds have halved into basically 6, 6.5 to 10, and she does represent the horse to beat. I think her danger would have to be the second favorite, Raffles. Raffles was unlucky not to get into the big race on Saturday in Durban. He was an emergency runner, but I liked his debut win at the Vaal over 1,100. He stepped up to the run behind Move and Shake, and he was running on really nicely there, the son of Time Thief. But he has to give Feather Boa 3 kilograms. And that is, I think, at the end of the day, going to be a little bit too much. So I make it Feather Boa to beat Raffles. Again, very much just the 2 horses to fight it out for me there, with Total Protection out of the race now. On we go to race 4, the start of the first jackpot. It's a graduation plate. This is restricted to 3-year-old fillies. It's over 1,450 meters, and it runs at 25-3. Scratched here is number 1, an important scratching, Time for Glory. You had to have a chance, but was scratched earlier on by Waishong Mowing. Number 9, Summer of Dreams, a chance right now for Mark Khan. Will pick up the ride in that 4th race, and those are the changes there. We're looking at the betting. The favorite is the Soma runner, number 6, Lady of Power, who won really well last time out, and she runs off a merit rating of 84. This being a set weight race, being a graduation plate, it doesn't really matter about the ratings, but I truly believe, looking at my ratings last night, that Lady of Power is definitely better than an 84. And for that reason, Lady of Power would probably end up being my first choice. Now, the reason why I say that is if you go back to her first run, she ran under 2 lengths to Time for Orchids, who ran in that feature race on the Gold Cup day. And Time for Orchids officially in the merit rating schedule is rated 104, which would mean if you take that literally speaking, then Lady of Power is definitely at least 10 points plus better than an 84, and therefore comes into the race with a strong chance. I reckon number 2, I Am Regal, has got more to offer. Muzi Yeni rode this on debut and won in it, and it beat a very good horse in Royal Victory, who's maintained its form. So I think number 2, I Am Regal, would be the danger. I think number 3, Ipso Facto, is on the up as well, and I wanted to mention his name in and amongst the others, but I do believe that Lady of Power is better than an 84, and I think that's the horse to beat ahead of I Am Regal. I think those 2, the winner will come from those 2 with Ipso Facto as a danger. Let's move on to race number 5 at 3:05. This is a conditions plate. Again, set weight race over 1,000 meters. I'll tell you in a moment how it all works. In race 5, number 9, Bard of Avon, is a gin strike. Has been wearing the half set of Alamites in its last 4 runs and puts on the full set today. Hence, you'll see why there's been money for it. Now, in this conditions plate, horses are weighted according to the number of wins that they've had. So if you've won 1 race, you'll get 50 kilos. 2 races, 52, 3 races, 54, 4 races, 56, 5 races, 58, and 6 races, 60, and so on. And then you pick up penalties for additional wins. I think it's a kilo for an additional win, hence the reason why Bold Ransom carries 61 kilos. So the weight here, the weights are structured according to the number of wins that the horse has had. And there is a fillies allowance, a sex allowance of 2.5 kilograms. All that factored in, both Neil and I thought the value definitely was with number 5, Winter Stories from the Paul Peters stable, quoted at 5-1 in the market. The blinkers were put on last time out. It didn't run well against in the Group 1 race against Master Archie. It hasn't run since the Champions Day on the 30th of April, so it's come off a rest. Had a look at the rest form, coming back from a rest. 5 races, it's come back from a rest, 2 wins and a third. Rachel Veneker, as we well know, it's been well documented, gets 1.5 kilos apprentice allowance with effect from Monday again. And we think Winter Stories is the horse to beat. Healthy respect for Bard of Avon because, as I mentioned, he comes in with only 52 kilograms. So he comes in with a nice lightweight, and there's been money for him from 4-1 into 5-2. So those would probably end up being the top 2. Gods would I prefer to Bold Ransom, and I give Mind Reader at 20-1. An outside squeak, but is also coming back from a lengthy rest. Note in this race, Bella Chica, that Gabriel Peterson only claims 1.5, and I think it's going to be that much tougher for her to come through and win here. But Winter Stories is clearly our horse in race number 5. On we go to race 6, which is due for 25-4 this afternoon. It's a merit rated 74 handicap. It's over 1,000 meters. In race 6, jockey changes. Ryan Munger picks up the ride now on number 7, Trust the Fire. And it's a welcome return to the saddle in Joburg for Matthew Thackeray, who hasn't ridden in South Africa since the 17th of October 2020. So he's been a long time off. I know that he rode at Borrowdale Park on the weekend, but those were his first rides back. But he hasn't ridden back in South Africa, so we're wishing Matthew back healthy, back to the saddle return. Other changes in this race, quite a few equipment changes, both 2s that start 4 Pindam Zala, the 2 Clinton Binder runners, Alamites in front, Unshot behind. Number 5, Scott D2 has a compression mask on, as does number 6, Befooted. And number 7, Trust the Fire, Alamites in front, Unshot behind. Well, we're getting into a bit of trickier territory over here. That said, I think that Spielberg's win last time was full of merit. Skated away from the opposition, comes from a very good female sprinting line in Miss October. Muzi Yeni gets on for the first time, and I think Spielberg, by rights, should really follow up here. Although it carries 60 kilos, I think it is the right one at 12 or 12.5 to 10. Clint Binder's runners, both of them are fancied from us. Who's that star in Pindam Zala? Although I prefer Pindam Zala with Jeffrey Saister on board, I think Jeffrey rides this horse really well, and I think he rides well for Clinton Binder. So Pindam Zala, I think, would be my principal danger. I have a slight hope for number 7, Trust the Fire. See, there's been some outside money for Trust the Fire from 16-1 into 12.5 to 1, and I think that's got a bit of a chance. Who's that star with Gavin Lorena booked again? He's only ridden it once, and it's won once, so I'd put that one into the player as well. But those are the ones I think for me that will matter here. I do need to mention Scott D2 because we had mentioned it once before. We went for it as a price booster when it was 40-1 back in May of this year when it came up and won that day, and we were pretty chuffed. It has won subsequent, but it always gets thrown into our permutations, the Scott D2. Race 7, off at 4:05, is a merit rated 84 handicap. This is over 2,000 meters. Scratchers number 7, Lashawis, who has returned coughing, and that's the only change in race number 7. Very interesting race, this one. Gabriel Peterson rides the favorite, number 1, Jamala, but remember that he only claims 1.5 kilos now, so this horse carries 60.5 kilos. Still quite a bit of pudding for Jamala to carry today. Going further down, Romeo's Magic at 5-1 has been a favorite of this channel. We've tipped him quite significantly. When he ran third to Bit of Fun on the 5th of May, he was partly responsible for our place accumulator netting 40,000 Rand plus when we spent 576 Rand. So he's one of our favorite horses. So he can't be left alone today. And He represents probably the value in the race at 5-1. But I do like Brendan James as my first choice. Brendan James, who ran third to Sir Michael last time out. I've studied the form, and I think that this horse is a little bit better than his official rating of 79. I peg him in the 82 to 84 region, and for that reason, he could be coming in with a nice handy weight. I thought Romeo's Magical 53 is the principal danger. So I'm going Brendan James and Romeo's Magic as my top two, with respect for Jamala and Elusive Swan behind that. And the eighth and last race jumps at 25-5. It's a merit-rated 74 handicap over the 1,600-meter trip. Here you can scratch number 10, Parker Getrix, who is heavily supported last time out to win. We liked the winner, Silly Fella, and it ran 4 lengths behind Silly Fella, and there was heavy money for it, and God knows why, but you know, punters saw that Parker Getrix was the right one there. Silly Fella won pretty well. Let's look at the betting here. 28-10, Humble Tune and Just a Memory. 4-1 about Legislate's Dance. 6-1 about Nkabisi, and then 8-1 number 1, Dawn of a New Era. Funny enough, I thought this was the hardest race on the card, but my top choice would probably be Legislate's Dance again. He came off that lengthy layoff. He was rested nearly a year, but he changed trainers to Paul Peter. And I always liked this horse when it was in Durban. I think it was originally, if I remember correctly, with Lazan Forbes used to train this horse, Legislate's Dance. And I always watched out for him for Suzette and Barcy for Lyon. Joshua Solomons rode a peach of a race last time. He got the chance because Samanga Kamalo didn't ride it, but I reckon that Legislate's Dance for me would be my idea of the top choice. Behind that, Mkabisi at 6-1, Humble Tune, and Just a Memory. I think that page in the computer form is probably where the winner will come from. Although I would throw in Rachel Veneker's mount, number 7, Sir Talin, who's got blinkers on again, wore the blinkers a few runs back, but is nicely priced in here at 10-1. And I'm going to be having a few rand on that too, Sir Talin at the price. One other, Golden Tune. He's been a revelation since changing stables. He's picked up his form again. His last run was against very, very strong company. He ran against Sovereign Spirit. All the horses around him that day were 100 plus rated. He was rated 73, and he only finished 3.5 lengths behind. Don't leave out Golden Tune. People ignore him, but his last run was very good. So in order there, I'm going 3, Legislate's Dance. I'm saying 7, Sir Talin would be a danger. Behind that, all of 2, Golden Tune, 4, 5, and 6. So going quite wide there. If you want to, you could possibly go the field. If you are running into that last leg, you may want to run into the field there. But I think that is a very, very tough race. There's some nice prizes to be had. You can back more than one horse in the race. There's no legislation against backing against more than one horse. And at the prices there, I'll be doing exactly that in the last race. Thanks for joining us on Clock in the Gallop. I've mentioned what both Neil and I came up with earlier. I've incorporated these thoughts into my recording today, and we're looking forward to a good day's racing. Tomorrow, don't forget, there's a double header. There's the start of the GTH racing on at Greyville tomorrow night, on Friday night. And we've, of course, got a race meeting at Fairview where hopefully Nino Podesta continue with his good form from last week. Thanks for joining us on Clock in the Gallop. Have a great Thursday racing, and all the best from all of us.